You're listening to Linux News Log, separating the Linux and open source signal from the noise.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I am your host Adrian, coming to you almost live from lovely Petaluma, California, here in Studio MC2 at Quicksurf Internet Studios. Linux News Log is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Do feel free to head on over to techpodcast.com and check out all the other technology-related shows over there as well. I'd like to encourage everybody to visit us online over at quicksurf.com. Please do subscribe to the show if you have not already done so. For those of you who are new subscribers, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link up above me to subscribe to the show. If you are stumbling upon the show over at the website over at quicksurf.com, or you're visiting us online over at quicksurf.com, the show notes for every episode has links to subscribe to an MP3 feed, an OGG Vorbis feed, and two video feeds. Both are H.264. One is standard definition and the other one is high def. So you can use whatever podcatcher of your choice to pull down whichever feed you want to subscribe to. With that, let's go ahead and get into the news for this episode. Starting off over at H Online, there's a story here. Microsoft partially releases a study on Munich's Linux migration. Now, we years ago reported on this. This was quite some time ago that Munich announced that they were migrating from Windows Server over to the Linux platform, and Microsoft internally had commissioned Hewlett Packard to do a study to see what the total cost of ownership was once they were migrated over. Now, this was not meant for public consumption, so let me just preface this, but it appears that moving from Windows to Linux costs approximately 60.6 million euros more than if they were to stay on Windows, which I'm not surprised. I mean, Linux has its time and place, but the problem with Linux is, at least in the business environment, is you need to have talent that can support Linux, and that's not cheap. So, I'm not surprised. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that rebuff this simply because there's a lot of open source people out there that are willing to work for free or dang near free. And, the reality of the matter is we're all humans. We all have bills to pay, and somebody needs to, we somehow need to earn money. And that usually comes in the form of, being the Linux guru at a shop that has Linux. And, as a result, for good services, companies are willing to pay for it. And, you don't have to be particularly talented to support a Windows system, but you do need to be talented when it comes to supporting a Linux system. So anyway, that's that. Over at Tech World, Fedora Linux 19 already. Will Cinnamon be the default desktop? Pretty interesting. It was just last week that Fedora Linux 18 Spherical Cow made its official debut, but since then, the Red Hat supported distribution has been all over the news for a variety of reasons, and not all of them complimentary. So first came the news that the Fedora Linux project is considering ousting the MySQL database management system. Really? I'm a huge MySQL fan. They want to replace it with MariaDB for Fedora 19. I've never heard of MariaDB, so I have no idea what this even is. So anyway, the thrust of the story is they may make their new desktop Cinnamon the default for Linux 19. I've not had a chance to try out Fedora 18 yet, so I don't know if it's good or bad or what, but it's like I'm sensing a couple of missteps here, so we'll see how it turns out. Over at Wired.com, Torvalds, #2, quits Linux. This isn't actually the first time Alan Cox has quit Linux. He is basically got some family things going on that he needs to take care of. And, you know, he didn't, at least in this article, he didn't elaborate what those were, and he doesn't need to. So, you know, I wish him the best and hope everything works out. And, you know, come back when you can, for sure. Over at Joystick, Half-Life now runs on Mac OS X and Linux. We assure you, now with a Steam page that doesn't expressly list Mac as a supported platform. We understand your skepticism regarding the headline to this very post. Yeah, Indeed, Half-Life has been ported to both OS X and Linux. Now, I do have another story here over at Geeky Gadgets. Valve has released Counterstrike 1.6 and Half-Life for Linux and OS X. So these are classic games. I remember playing Half-Life way back in the day, so definitely check it out. The path has not always been that great, you know, but just based on the feedback that I've gotten of people trying Steam games on Linux, it's not been without issues. So if you are running into issues, by all means do let Valve know, simply because, you know, they can't fix something that they don't know about, and they can't possibly test every combination out there. So if you're running into issues, let them know. From PR.com, Forex-Metal Metatrader 4 now supports the Linux operating system. Down in Panama, Forex-Metal, a leading online Forex and CFD broker, has recently announced that its Metatrader 4 platform is now compatible with Linux, in addition to Windows, iOS, and Android operating systems. So pretty neat. I don't know what the software does or what have you, and since it's in a different country, you know, probably we'll never find out. But for those of you who may use that, you know, now you have another avenue of execution. From Ars Technica, Ubuntu phones to come with a terminal. Prepare your command line skills. I had mixed feelings about the Ubuntu phone, just simply because I didn't know what form it was going to take. But according to this article here, the Ubuntu Phone operating system will come with a terminal application. I'm a little concerned that, I mean, for the hardcore Linux users, they're going to be like, yeah, but, you know, the phone user interface is not a desktop interface, and so there are going to be some things on the phone interface that just do not work well on a desktop, and vice versa. Microsoft is finding this out with Windows 8. You know, having the whole Surface type, you know, user interface doesn't really work super well on the desktop. Just like having, you know, a command line application and, you know, a mouse and a keyboard and all this other stuff doesn't necessarily work really well on a mobile operating system. So it'd be interesting to see how this turns out. It hasn't been released publicly yet, but definitely be something that we'll be looking at closely, just to see, you know, what comes of it. I think they're, you know, the hardcore Linux users will be ecstatic, and everybody else will either not know what to do with it, or they will, you know, ignore it and treat it like, you know, an iPhone or something, or an Android phone. So anyway, that will do it for this edition of Linux News Log. As always, everything we've talked about is linked up in the show notes. You can find those online over at quicksurf.com. Please do subscribe to the show if you have not already done so. If you have, thank you for staying subscribed and for subscribing. And with that, I will see all of you on the next episode. See you then. Bye.